What's up, everybody? I'm Adam. You're watching the Model Aviator channel. FMS makes 3 different size Rangers, and to be fair, they all fly very well. FMS calls them the Ranger, but essentially they are not officially licensed versions of a Cessna 150, a very popular general aviation trainer. In today's Quick Look Fun Flight episode, we'll be checking out the largest and the best flying Ranger in the series. With a wingspan of 70 inches and a ready-to-fly weight of around 4.8 pounds, this is a decent-sized Ranger. It's going to be right at home at an organized flying club or large empty parks or schoolyards. You just need to be aware of the laws governing flying models wherever you live. FMS sells this as a plug-and-play or plug-and-play with floats included. With the plug-and-play, the motor, electronic speed control, and all of the servos are pre-installed for you. You need to only source your receiver of choice and install that yourself. It's a 5-function airplane out of the box with the potential for more. You have elevator, rudder with a steerable nose wheel, ailerons, functioning flaps, and of course, throttle control. There's an extra signal wire coming off of the ESC servo lead that you can plug into a separate channel to activate thrust reverse and put that on a switch if you choose. And of course, if you're going to use some sort of gyro stabilization and it's not self-contained in the receiver like AS3X Plus, you may need an extra channel for that. When I think of the FMS Ranger series, I don't really think FMS was shooting for a super scale version of a Cessna 150. Rather, I think they wanted a model that looked the part, was very lightweight, flew extremely well, and wouldn't hammer your wallet to add one to your hangar. And they've succeeded in doing that throughout the series, including the largest version here. The mold is very well done. The foam is very smooth. You do have some detail molded in, like the corrugation on the ailerons and the flaps, but it doesn't have as much detail in the mold as some more scale-intended FMS planes that we've reviewed. Again, I think that was on purpose. It does have plastic details here and there, like the antenna and the exhaust pipe underneath the cowl. You've got plastic in strategic places like where the wings mount, where the struts mount, where the gear mounts. One place I think they'd have been well served to put some plastic would be on the front part of the wing tips. An airplane in this configuration has a relatively high center of mass, relatively narrow tricycle gear, and this is a very tight turning radius, so it's very easy to scrape the front part of that wingtip on a paved runway if you go to turn around even just a little bit too fast. So that would be an improvement I would make if they ever do another version of this airplane. The hinges are foam, which on an airplane intended for what this is intended for and surfaces that have the degree of deflection that they're intended to have, I think that's fine. The push rods have a Z-bend on the servo arm end and a ball link on the control horn end. Very precise. The servos are not very fast. They're very strong, but they're not very fast. But they're fast enough for what this airplane is and what it was intended for. I had no problem flying this airplane very aggressively, probably more aggressive than most people are going to fly a Ranger 1800. And this one has a few things that your typical smaller Ranger doesn't have. Obviously, flaps is the first thing. The landing gear is the standard main wire landing gear, but this one has a very nice spring-loaded strut. And the tension on that spring is pretty much perfect for this airplane, not too hard, not too soft, so it's actually effective. And this one has wingtip LED and a nose landing light, and they are day bright. You'll see that in the flying as well. It is a convenient top loader. There's plenty of room in that battery bay for the intended size packs, which are 4S 3200 to 4000 milliamp packs. When it comes to assembly, the manual does a great job of taking you through the steps of assembly. There's not a lot to it. It is what I would call a prototypical modern-day foam model assembly. There's no glue required. Won't take you very long at all, and everything's very convenient. When it comes to field assembly and disassembly, FMS has really made it easy for you. There are automatic electronic connections on the wing that connect your aileron, flap, and lights. And of course, the struts are foldable, and just use a single clip to clip the struts into place. You'll use 2 screws per wing. They do go underneath, which is a little bit less convenient than having them right here on top, but still a pretty fast field assembly and disassembly. And a couple things that I did to just make that even more convenient for myself: I keep all of my screws, clips, and the removable antenna from the top of the wing inside a servo box. And I put a little Velcro on that. I keep it in the battery tray when I'm not flying the airplane. I used a 3M stick-on zip tie base and a zip tie to put my wing tube through. I just put it through to the back of the fuselage, and I can keep it stored in the fuse. When it comes to setup, obviously being a plug and play, the first thing you're going to have to do is install your receiver of choice. We fly Spectrum. I'm utilizing my Spectrum NX70 Plus transmitter, and I installed an AR630 Plus receiver right here where you see it. That is an AS3X Plus Safe Select capable receiver. I'm not utilizing Safe Select. I am utilizing AS3X Plus stabilization, and I did put that on a switch so we can report to you how the airplane flies both with and without very good stabilization. When it comes to our personal setup, the manual is a great place to start. All of the necessary information is there. You can start there, fly the airplane, and tweak it to your preferences if you would like. We're going to start by putting some windows up just to my right here. You can pause those and check those out. After that, we'll tell you the rest. The first one is going to be our AS3X Plus settings. If you fly Spectrum and you want to utilize an AS3X Plus receiver, those are our settings. Work very, very well for this airplane. Next is going to be our servo travel window. That is where we have our servo travel. Obviously, that's going to vary from transmitter to transmitter and plane to plane, but that's what we needed to get the throw that we wanted. Next is going to be our flap menu, so you can pause that and do that with your flaps and elevator compensation if you would like. When it comes to everything else, we'll start with balance. We fly the airplane on an SMC 4S 3400 HCL pack all the way back, or at least as far back as we can push it given where we put our receiver, which is right here. And that gives us a balance of 85 millimeters measured from the leading edge of the wing at the root straight back with the airplane right side up. When it comes to our push rod placement, we're in the stock suggested places on the servo arms and the control horns in the manual. Other than elevator, the one change we made, they recommend the outermost hole on the servo arm. We came in one for a little bit more mechanical advantage on that and just increase the servo travel. When it comes to our expo and our rates, we're at 100% rates on everything. We're at 20% expo on ailerons, 25% expo on elevator, and 35% expo on the rudder. When it comes to flight characteristics, this thing is absolutely awesome. They say the bigger flies better, and they are absolutely right. There's just something about the smooth, deliberate way, by nature, that a larger model grooves through the air versus a smaller one. It's a noticeable difference that you can see and feel. All of the Rangers fly really well, to be perfectly honest, but this one is the king of the hill. It is the best of the bunch, to be sure. Now, when it comes to specific flight characteristics during specific maneuvers, we're going to talk more about that with some narration during the Fun Flight demo that we'll get to here in a bit. But right now, I want to talk about a couple of other things. The first thing is when it comes to the battery range, it's 3,200 to 4,000. We utilize the SMC HCL 3400 4S pretty much exclusively, and this is a very strong power system. It's not 3D airplane powerful, but it's close and it's very efficient. With that battery flying it the way you're going to see me flying in this demo, I got 7 to 8 minute flights on a regular basis. You don't need a big, huge honking pack to get a long flight time with this airplane. And there's enough room in that battery bay for a 4S 5000 or a 4S 6000 even. But that's just going to defeat the purpose of the super light wing loading this airplane has. It's very light for its size, and it's going to make it nose heavy, which is going to affect a lot of different things, including those nice nose high main first landings and touch and goes that we all like to do. So I highly recommend batteries on the lighter end and the smaller end of the battery range. When it comes to flying this airplane with a stabilizer versus without it, obviously AS3X Plus is phenomenal. It's the best stabilizer in the hobby right now, in my opinion, and it definitely smooths things out with this airplane. In calm conditions, it certainly does not need a stabilizer. It's a solid, honest airframe. It flies awesome. But if you use AS3X Plus and it's tuned properly, you will feel a difference even in no wind. It is even better. And then when the wind starts picking up progressively, even from a little bit to a lot, the difference is absolutely huge. So just keep that in mind. It can definitely give you a leg up and make your experience more pleasurable when the wind starts picking up. When it comes to the price point, right now at the time that we're doing this review, it's $319.99 for this airplane. That is a smoking deal for what it is. That is so much airplane for the money and so much capability for the money. And when it comes to skill level, a lot of people are going to say this is a skill level 1 airplane. I think it is more skill level 2 airplane. I think this is better suited after your first airplane. Obviously, if you're experienced, you saw what I can do. Well, you're going to see what I can do with it. And it's a very capable airplane for somebody that's got some experience that wants to throw something around that's just easy to fly and it's easy to make you look good. Great airplane for that. When it comes to it being a great trainer, obviously it's the best flying Ranger of the bunch. It's also the most expensive. This thing's $130 more than the 1220 millimeter Ranger that I think is the best trainer on the FMS website. That price point is going to make a difference for some people and not for others. So I think the honest truth when it comes to trainers on the FMS website is this. The 1220 is going to be right for just about everybody, but there will be a lot of people that aren't intimidated by the price of something and don't get nervous because it costs more. If you're that person, this is the Ranger for you. So if you'd like to add one to your hangar for any reason, to train with, just to throw around as an experienced pilot and make it a great sport plane, it's awesome for that. We'll put some links in the description. If you go through those links, it helps support our channel. When you do that, Heidi and I appreciate it. Thank you very much. That's it for us. Take care of yourselves. Happy flying. We'll see you next week with something cool with wings. And now, let's throw this thing around. I really like the tight turning radius of the Ranger 1800, but you have to pay attention how fast you're going when you do it. Not sure if you caught that, but it actually surprised me how quickly it jumped into the air. Doesn't take much speed at all, especially in a little bit of headwind, and this thing's off and flying. And as you can see, super stable slope. The Ranger 1800 has plenty of power, plenty of vertical, and a decent amount of speed for what it is. These are both full deflection aileron rolls, not the fastest roll rate I've ever seen, but certainly fast enough. And here in Knife Edge, I was amazed it had less coupling than most high-wing planes. Another sign of a really solid honest airframe is what they do when you get them slow and cross up the controls in something like this extreme flat turn. That's full deflection rudder, and it never even threatened to bite me. As you would expect from any good sport plane, the Ranger 1800 is as comfortable upside down as it is right side up, and there's plenty of down elevator left over for other maneuvers. Given its size, it handles grass runways no problem, and ours is pretty rough. I've let several of the guys at the field fly the Ranger 1800, and it always puts a smile on every pilot's face. They're all pretty amazed at just how well this airplane flies and how capable it is. And one thing I definitely noticed is how much power this airplane still has late in the pack and how well those SMC packs performed late in the flight. That is probably my worst landing with the Ranger 1800, but as you can see, the gear is very forgiving. Awesome airplane. If you add one to your hangar, enjoy it. We'll see you on the next one.